Well, good morning. I want to welcome everybody to today's presentation. And we're going to look at the joy of goals today. And I am really excited to share this. I think it's going to be a little bit of a different approach to goals than maybe what you're used to. I try to keep it a little bit mixed up and a little confusing and a little interesting. And so let's go ahead and get started. I am Dave Beam. I'm your trainer. I've been married for 35 years, have a wonderful wife and family. Connie is my wife. I'm the granddaddy of all granddaddies. I now have an Alexa, which my grandchildren can call me at any time. I think I've got it turned down today, but that interruption could occur today. They love to call me on that. I love to play my Tyros 5 keyboard. It's my de-stressor. It's down in a nice finished basement, and I go down there to escape. I've served hundreds of organizations as the owner of Beam Business Services for the past 17 years. I just like to help people get better. I like to help organizations get better. I like to help businesses make more money, serve more customers, have a better place to work. And I'm a mentor, trainer, and speaker. I'm also a biblical counselor. We're currently doing our training at Wheelersburg Baptist Church right now. I love helping people with personal issues and directing them to their Creator. And I have a passion to help people. So that's what brings that all together. That's who I am. Very quickly, Beam Business Services. We have some more opportunities. We're going to continue these as far as I can tell. Every first week of the month on Wednesday, we're going to do these 1-hour sessions. The past events, including this one, will be posted. The recording will be posted. The YouTube will be available to you. I have a library of articles on the website. If you go to mentordavebeam.com, those are all free for your perusal and use. And I also have a weekly email article that I send out on a newsletter. And if you just sign up on the website for that, I'll put you on that list and you'll receive that. It's just a little less, usually less than 300 words, just a little way to start the week off for you. Have some mastermind groups, a couple of them going right now, just really great feedback and really great outcomes from that. If you have more interest in that, contact me. I do executive mentoring. I also do leadership management training and also small business coaching. So again, those are just some opportunities that you can pursue with me. For more information, there's my site. The website is the best way probably to get a hold of me. And also there's my phone number at the bottom. So that's the introductory material on who I am and why we're here. So let's get going on the content. I always like to start with the rules of the game. And some people don't like rules. They feel like they're constraining or they kind of put them into a box. But what I like clear rules because it gives us structure. And so I'm going to give you how to make this presentation, this experience this morning, the absolute best it can be. It's by following some simple rules. The first one is a mindset. You're going to own it. What do I mean? We're going to be talking about goals, goal setting. You're going to come into this session saying, I'm going to take responsibility, ownership, and accountability for my life, for my choices, for my business, for my relationships. I'm going to own it. I'm not going to be a victim to my circumstances. Certainly in this climate that we're living in right now with all the changes in the government, all the changes with COVID, we can easily slide into, I've done it myself, we slide into a victim mindset where we start to make excuses and blame other people and situations, and we give up our autonomy and the things that we can control and the things that we can do, which is ourself. We start to really give our freedom and our choices over to other things. Or worst of all, we live in some kind of denial where we don't even face the issue. What makes me smile this morning is to see this list of people here today that say, I don't want to be in denial. I want to learn how to do this better. I'm really curious about this. I want you to participate 100%. That just means to stay present and connected for about an hour or so here. To stay open-minded and to possibly take some notes if that helps you stay connected. Just keep your mind functional and consider the things that are being offered. Dropping I know. I think this is particularly important this morning. I would like you to drop the I know, and this is what I mean by that. You have a history. We all have a history. We all have a memory. We all have past experiences. I'm going to call that the whiteboard this morning. I want you to take out a rag and I want you to wipe that whiteboard clean. Now, when you leave here, you can go back to your history and you can think about it and see how it affects you. But for this morning's session, I want you to come into this power session with a fresh and a new mindset. I want you to drop all the stories and the baggage that you have from the past, and even the successes you have from the past. Some people live in their past. They just can't seem to get free of it. And it's just a simple choice that you're going to make at this moment right now to say, I'm dropping the past. I'm going to truly come with a blank sheet of paper, curious, eager, intrigued, and a little bit excited. That's what I'm asking from you. That's a rule that I have so that you can get the most out of this. You know, time is our most precious commodity. We can always make more money, but you can't make more time. And you're taking an hour out of your week and out of your life to spend here, and I want you to get the most out of it. And the way to get the most out of it is to drop your previous experience and knowledge and set it aside and come open-minded. And finally, let's just have some fun. And we've talked about the title of this session being the joy of goals. I don't think most people that I've talked to through the many years I've worked with so many people, they don't think of goal setting and planning to necessarily be a fun thing to do. And that's the first thing we're going to go at. I really want to change your mind on that if possible. So if you will own it, if you'll participate, if you'll get rid of your past experiences, at least wipe that clean and set it aside and choose to have some fun this morning. We're going to have fun and goals. And again, most people don't put those two words together, but we're certainly going to do it today. Here's the challenge, folks. The challenge is to enjoy the process of setting and achieving goals and getting results. I'm a coach. I'm all about getting the result. You know, we can talk, we can chat, we can read, we can pontificate, we can think, we can have conversation, we can eat a little bit of lunch together and enjoy each other's company. But at the end of the day, a coach doesn't keep his job unless he gets a result, unless he helps people win the game. And I'm about winning this morning, and winning goals are just a tool to help us win. The key to enjoyment of anything is how you view the process. And again, I think most of us have a default view of goal setting and like New Year's resolutions. I don't find many people that get excited about New Year's resolutions. You may be the exception. You may have already worked through some of this mental funk, and I commend you. In fact, I'd like you to coach me a little bit. I have a challenge with this sometimes. But here's a good question to start this morning off. How do you currently view the process of setting and achieving goals? What is your current feeling about that? Have you found it to be valuable in the past? Maybe I've got some great goal setters on the call this morning. You're saying, I like goals, Dave. I just want some pointers on how to enjoy it more and to do it better. Well, welcome. You're going to love this. It's just, for some, though, one of those I should lose weight. I should exercise. I should change this habit. I should set some goals. Or maybe you work in an organization that requires you to set goals, but you just write them out because you have to turn them in, and then you put them in the drawer and you don't even look at them again. Or maybe you look at them again in December and say, gosh, there's another list of failures, or there's another list of something I forgot about. I don't know what your current relationship with goals is, but we can't improve what we don't recognize. That getting out of denial, we have to look and see where we are right now. How about what kind of feelings does this whole thing bring up for you? Feelings of frustration, perhaps, because you've not been able to sustain your commitments and change? Joy, does that come up at all? I hope by the end of our session today, when you start to think about joy, when you talk about planning and goals, you're going to start to feel a little bit good about it. In fact, a lot good about it. You're going to be happy. That's the challenge. That's the challenge, is for us to go through our power hour today, this hour of power, that we're going to look at this and change how we feel about planning and goal setting. So that happens between our ears, and I love distinctions because all of us get distinctions. When I say black, you think white. When I say up, you think down. We get opposites. We get distinctions. Life, death, sadness, joy. I mean, we put one thing on one side, and then our mind will think in dualities. And so when you get a distinction, it's something that you just capture. There are some key distinctions here that will help you change your attitude and feeling about goals. Here's the first one, the why versus the how. Here's what I run into all the time as a coach. People always want to know how to do stuff. And that typically is their excuse. Well, if I knew how to do this, then I would do it. Frankly, you could go on Google right now and Google goal setting and get more information than you would ever want on the subject. There are so many different ways to do this. The how-to is not the problem. It's just like dieting. There are how many different diets out there. And some might say, well, which diet works? Well, it's the one you use. And what I find is with goal setting, people can get caught up in the process and all the different ways to do it, but they haven't really dealt with the more important question. Why would you use goals? Why are they important? Well, goals are just a tool. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I want you to think about that distinction, the why versus the how. Why you do something, the why is the driver, it's the motivator. And if you get all caught up in the how-to loses the sexiness. You just don't really want to, how-to gets boring. You have to have that bigger why that drives the process. Second, let's look at this distinction, the distinction between a project and a dream. You know, everybody likes dreams until they get a little bit older and they get a little crusty, and dreams are a good thing. Dreams are that ability of our mind. We have such an amazing, our brain and our mind is such an amazing thing, and we have this ability to really think about bigger things for ourselves and greater things and more pleasant things. But there's a problem with dreams. They're wispy and they kind of drift in and out, and they really don't typically go anywhere. They're kind of soft. Here's my recommendation for you today. Take that dream that you have and dust it off, and then don't let it sit there and get moldy again. Turn it into a project. That's getting into action. That's actually taking it and taking some steps with it. Start to take that dream and transform it into something that you're going to do. That's what the difference between a dream and a project. Then you'll start to love your goals. You'll start to enjoy goals, because goals, if they're properly used, it's a tool. Goal's a tool. If you use the tool the right way, it'll help you turn your dreams into a project. Game versus shame. A game approach versus a shame approach. I can give you the shame approach. I don't want to set goals. I always fail. Every time I look at a goal, all I see is what I won't do. All I see is I've set it too high and I'll never achieve it. All I see is something my boss wants me to do that I don't like to do. That's the shame approach. It goes with the word should. It's a bunch of bullshit is what it is. I should do this. I should set goals. I know I should do this. Eeyore. You hear it, the sad face, the should face. I'm saying shame is not the way to go if you want to enjoy a process. And if you want to enjoy goals, you have to get into a game mindset. So here's the game mindset, folks, right here. We need to get clarity. We need to get steps. We need to get a process. We need to play it and not take it all so seriously. If you're going to enjoy something, you don't take it so seriously. You need to lighten this whole thing up. What could I do? What could I achieve? Let me just set a huge goal and go for it. That's the mentality. Now this one I find to be probably the strongest distinction of all that I'm going to talk about this morning. Tool versus rule. So please, I want you to get really present with me now and really key in on this one. This one will change your whole relationship with goals and planning. Listen carefully. A goal is simply a tool for your brain. A goal is simply a tool for your brain. Your brain, the God in heaven, your creator, has given you a biocomputer that's designed to get things done. It's designed to function and accomplish things, to help you do that. It's a planning machine. And that machine can be enhanced and can be leveraged by using goals. That's all a goal is. It's like if you're going to decorate, the can of paint is a tool. Goals are like paint. They're just something you use to make it better, to make it easier, to make it work. We're using some principles of how our brain works. The goals are just a focus tool. It's a planning tool. What are tools? They help us perform more efficiently, more effectively. They increase our leverage. In other words, if you use a screwdriver to get one of those screws in the wall, it just helps you leverage and force that screw in a lot easier way because it takes that pressure of your hand and it puts it exactly where it belongs. That's what a tool is for. We don't typically love the tool. We don't typically brag about the tool. We just appreciate what the tool does for us. So the joy of goals, the joy of paint, the joy of screwdrivers, I don't think so. But a craftsman, now think about a craftsman and their tools. A craftsman learns to really love their tools. They have certain tools that even when they put them in their hand, it inspires them. A musician, musical instrument is just a physical device. But a musician that has that guitar or that violin or that keyboard that they love and they've gotten to know, that brings them great joy. The joy of a goal is not what a goal is. It's what a goal is more than what a goal does. I want you to hear what I'm saying here. If you can get close to your goals and really get to understand your goals and how these tools work, you'll become a craftsman. And what are you building? You're crafting your life. You're crafting your business. You're crafting your future and your relationships. And so goals just become that precious tool you use to get something done. A tool is just a tool. It becomes a joy when you learn how to use it well. So if you want to fall in love with goals and have fun with goals and enjoy goals, you need to pick the tool up and learn how to use it and use it well. Tool versus rule. Why do I use the word rule? A rule is just something you have to follow. A rule is just something you should do. It's that victim feeling of I just do this because I'm supposed to do it, but I don't even really get into it. I don't even love it. I haven't studied it. I'm just supposed to do it this way. I've been told to do it this way. I'm just following instructions. I don't like a rule mentality. I like a tool mentality. A tool is something you use. It's a game mentality versus a shame mentality. It's a project. It's an active project versus just a dream. And it's got a huge why behind it because I've determined what I really want. And that leads us to this last distinction this morning. Process versus outcome. Most people think of goals as outcome tools. And they think of the end, beginning with the end in mind, that outcome goal. And that certainly is the kind of goals we're talking about tonight, outcome goals. Goals when I have a clear target. That's that little picture we had at the front of this. What am I aiming at? What is the end that I want to achieve? And that's an outcome goal. But folks, an outcome goal out there by itself is pretty useless. All it does is stare at you and tell you that you're a failure. All it does is stare at you and tell you what you haven't achieved. But if you match that outcome goal, if you use that outcome goal to focus and to plan, what are you planning? You're planning your process. You're planning what you're going to do to get to that goal. And the doing is the joy. The action is the joy. Achieving today's commitment is the joy. I can win every single day. I don't have to wait till I get to the outcome to be happy. I can do, as they say, enjoy the journey, not just the destination. Half of the fun on going on a long vacation is getting there. All the stops along the way, everything you learn. Half the fun of winning a game and becoming a winning team is the synergy that happens as a team comes together and you learn the principles. You know, it's the achievement that has as much joy as actually the achieving. It's not just the gold medal, it's all the blood, sweat, and toil and tears that went into that medal. It's the striving, it's the human bit of challenge and overcoming that brings us the great joy. It's not just the outcome, it's the process. And I want you to see that. So let's just go through this slide just really quickly, one more time, just to kind of I just want you to I want your mind to marinate in these distinctions. The why versus the how. The project versus the dream. The game versus the shame. The tool versus the rule. And the process versus the outcome. If you really get those distinctions and you really meditate and think about those and allow those to kind of get into your mind and you think about the ramifications, you will start to enjoy your goals. You'll start to see goals as a tool. You'll quit using them as a rule. You'll start to use the goals as something to achieve something, and that's where they start to be enjoyable. Okay. We have to understand change. Goal setting and planning is all about change. I wouldn't set a goal unless I want to change, unless I'm just told to do it by somebody else. But the reason I would personally set a goal is because I have a desire for change. So we need to understand change. This little formula here is helpful. D times V plus FS has to be greater than R. It's not math and it's not algebra. It's a way to look at change. We all have a built-in resistance. Human beings, like all creatures, love homeostasis. They like to stay the same. You ever noticed that before, how people like to stay the same? Well, that's called resistance. Objects at rest tend to stay at rest. It's called inertia. I don't want to move forward. I don't want to change. So for us to change, we have to overcome that resistance. And this little formula tells us the three components that are necessary to overcome that resistance. First of all, I have to have some dissatisfaction, the D. You know, we're going back to the why versus the how. Why do you want to change? It's a good question. What is it that you don't like or that you want to be different? What am I dissatisfied with is a great coaching question to ask. What am I going to change? If I'm going to set a goal, it's a goal to change something I'm dissatisfied with. But you know, we can just sit and be dissatisfied, but we also need to have something else. We need to have a vision. We need to have a picture of where we're going. That's that outcome. That's that goal setting. The vision is the goal. Where are we going? It's like when you plan a vacation. Well, I'm going to go on vacation this year. Well, we begin with the end in mind. Where are we headed? That's the goal. That's the vision. I don't just want to stay here. I want to go somewhere else. And so I leave pain and I go towards pleasure. I leave pain and I go towards pleasure. Pain is I don't want to stay here any longer. Vision is I want to go there. The goal defines where I want to go. And then once I have that going in my heart and in my mind and in my soul and I'm ready to do something, there's one last piece that has to be there. First steps. I need to get into action. I need to change that dream into a project. I need to get to work. Folks, you can have all the dissatisfaction and vision you want, but if you don't take action and do something, nothing happens. So you need to understand change if you're going to enjoy your goals, because why do I set a goal? It's so I can change something. I need to embrace the discomfort of change. So I've got a picture here of a boiling pot of water, and you see those bubbles of steam rising up there. and you think about a boiling pot of water. So just to stay with me here. You take that pan and you fill it up with some water and you sit it down on the burner and you turn that heat on. And it starts to shimmer and it starts to shake. And then it starts to rumble a little bit. And then those bubbles start to form. And then pretty soon there's a breakthrough and the liquid water has changed into steam. And you've taken something that is good for a real hot bath and turned it into something that can power a locomotive. You've taken something that's at one state and you've changed it to another state by putting energy into it. It's the process of change. So personal change is much like that. A goal sets some pressure on us. It puts some heat on us. It tells my biocomputer there's something out there I want to achieve. There's something I'm dissatisfied with, and there's a vision of where I want to go. And that starts to bring about this discomfort, this energy, this heat. And folks, I'm going to just call you out right this morning as your coach. If you have a goal to be comfortable, you'll never do well with goals. You'll never do good with change because change always occurs outside the comfort zone. And if you want to get better, and if you want to grow, and you want to thrive, and you want to achieve, and you want to have more, and you want to be more, and you want to do more, and you want to be a blessing, and you want to give more, and you want to be a bigger change agent in other people's lives, you have to embrace the fact that it's not comfortable. That if there's going to be change, if there's change to be, it begins with me. If there's change to be, it begins with me. And that is not comfortable. That's getting out of denial. That's owning it. That's saying, I'm not going to be comfortable. I'm going to set this goal and it doesn't make me comfortable. Comfort doesn't go with the process. Discomfort goes with the process. But if you're going to have steam, you got to have heat. And when you have heat on something, it messes up the homeostasis. It messes up the status quo. And that's what this process is all about. We have to understand this process of habit change. I like the little picture of a well, one of those farm wells. I don't know if many of you have ever used that. Hopefully some of you know what it is. I remember as a kid, I went out to one of these farm wells and I started pumping my arm up and down. And all that happened is my arm got tired. Maybe a few drops of water appeared, but I thought, what kind of device is this? But you know what the truth is. You keep pumping that well, you keep pushing that lever up and down, and it finally primes. And you finally get that heat on that water, and that steam starts to come, and that water starts to come out of that well. And once that happens, then one stroke will bring you almost a full bucket of water. What's the point? The point is this. Habit change is just like that. It's little changes, little changes, little changes, and you don't see anything. But you persist in that over. It's a rhythm. Up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Take some ice cubes. They sit in a freezer that's maybe around 0 degrees Fahrenheit. What's the melting point of water? 32 degrees. So you raise the temperature 1 degree, then 2 degrees, then 5 degrees. What does the ice look like? Looks just like it did when you started out. You raise it 5 more degrees, it looks the same. But then when you get to that magic number of 32, you start to see some melting, some change of the molecules. There's enough energy in there that those hydraulic molecules start to break apart and you get liquid. Folks, how did it happen? When I had 10 degrees, it looked like nothing was happening. When I had 15 degrees, nothing was happening. With the 5th stroke with my arm, my arm was just getting tired. I was having this discomfort, but nothing was happening. We need to understand, I want you to set a 1-year goal, and then you have little tiny changes that you consistently do day after day. That's the process of habit change. It's about sustaining tiny changes of behavior over an extended period of time. We also need to understand the nature of habit change. New habits are things you do. Old habits are things that you are. So here's what I want everybody to do right now that's listening. I want you to take your 2 hands and I want you to grasp them together. So just take your two hands and clasp them together. Now look down at your hands and tell me which thumb is on top. Is it your left thumb or your right thumb? For me, it's my left thumb. Now I want you to reclasp your hands, but I want you to put the other thumb on top. How does that feel? That's uncomfortable. New habits are things you do. Old habits are things you are. I'm a left thumb on top person. That's who I am. But when I do right thumb on top, now I've changed the habit. Now I've done something different. It's like a thermostat. You come into a room and it's 72 degrees, but I'm a little bit cold and I want to raise the temperature. So I move that thermostat up to 80 degrees. Now I've stressed the system. Now I've set a goal. The goal is just where I set the thermostat. The goal is where I'm going. And what have I done with that goal? I've put this pressure on the system. And then it is an incremental 1 degree at a time change. It's a process. It doesn't happen all at once. But when that process reaches the point where it needs to be, there's a breakthrough. And that's when we have that victory and that change. This is how goals work. This is how change works. This is how this works. Here's another way to look at it. Steps of learning. I remember when I was training my son to drive a car. We'll start with the first one here. Unconscious incompetence, UI. How most 15-year-old kids think they know how to drive. They're incompetent, but they're unconscious of it. They think they know exactly what to do until you put them behind the wheel. Then they immediately become consciously incompetent. In other words, they didn't know what to do until they started to try it. Now they're very conscious. They're very dissatisfied. They're out of denial. They now see, I really don't know how to drive a car. And my son, as we sat behind the wheel, I just said, we were fortunately in a nice open parking lot. He put the pedal down to the metal all the way and created a little whiplash for us and a good laugh and a little bit of heartbeat. But we both knew immediately we were conscious of his incompetence. At that point, his mother took over the training and I resigned the job. That's what happened. But for the point of our little stair steps here, you start off not knowing what you're doing. Then you become aware of what you need to change and what you're not confident at. And then as you practice this day after day after day after day after day after day change, these little changes, you're retraining your brain and you're retraining yourself to be competent. You have to think about it. That's the conscious part. I have to think about what I'm doing. I adjust my mirror. I put my hands at the right position on the wheel. I all these different steps. I have to think them through this checklist. I have to be very conscious to be competent, but that's my next level of learning. And then finally, when I do that and my new neural pathways are created and I've got a new habit, then I'm unconsciously competent. I don't have to think about it. It just is automatic pilot. Folks, this is what goal setting is. Goal setting is I set that end place of unconscious competence where I want to be, and I start to practice my conscious competence. That's the process until I retrain myself to this new normal. I've raised the thermostat, and now I'm moving incrementally towards that in a regular way. So you're saying, Dave, what does this have to do with enjoying goals? I think you need to understand things to enjoy them. I need to understand how to use a tool for me to appreciate it. That's what we're doing today. We need to realize that not all habits are equal. Now, what do I mean by that? So I'm fired up. I love this idea. I'm going to get off this call and set some goals. How are you going to choose what goal you want to set? Well, we need to understand that when choosing what we want to change, we need to focus on keystone habits. Keystone that's a picture of a keystone from the dictionary. It's in a mechanical world, in a construction world, that one stone puts the appropriate amount of pressure to hold all those other stones in place. In other words, that keystone is a key piece of the building that keeps the other pieces where they need to be. So we need to choose keystone habits. Choosing only 1 or 2 daily habits to change is the most effective way to have life change. So if I'm going to set a goal, how does that all work out in the practical world? If I'm going to set a goal for this year, I want to pick one thing that's going to affect everything else. So here's a great thing to choose. How about 30 minutes on the elliptical trainer daily? What is me getting up in the morning and walking 30 minutes on my elliptical trainer every day going to do for me? Well, you're going to say, well, it's going to help you get awake in the morning. Great. What else is it going to do? Well, it's going to start to create a different mindset for me, because now I'm seeing myself disciplined and obeying a habit that I've set. So I'm going to start to have more integrity. What else is it going to do? It's going to help me get more oxygen to my brain, which is going to help me think better. I'll probably sleep better at night with those exercises. You know what? When you sleep better at night, you renew yourself and you're better prepared. So if you're starting to get the idea here, if you find a keystone habit, something that everything else, if you work on that first, there's a lot of other things that automatically get affected in a positive way. I think my morning Bible reading and prayer habit is so important there, because it sets my direction for the day. It sets what I'm going to look at every day. So that moment, those moments of silence in the morning, that morning routine, one little key habit there that leads to other habits is what you want to choose. So what I would challenge you to do, if you want to, if you just want to have some fun with it after this call today, is you sit down and think about one thing, not 50 things, one thing that you could change every day that's going to raise that bar just a little bit and move that needle up a little bit and move towards a great outcome. Determine what outcome you'd like to have by the end of the year, and then start to work on that process change, that 1 or 2 goals that can make all the difference. That's what that slide is all about. Let's move on. Here's a suggestion by Warren Buffett. He certainly is a guy that's been successful in the financial arena. He says this: write down 25 things you'd like to do, then identify the 5 that really matter and cross all the others out, or see how they fit with those 5. In other words, he says less is more. I say less is more. I say if you get the keystone things, the most important things, the other things will take care of themselves. Covey calls it the big rocks. You need to get the big rocks in the jar first, and the gravel and the water and the sand will fill in around it, if you're familiar with that model. It tells me that this process of goal setting is effective when I get the most important things. And that takes a little bit of time. And frankly, I believe in coaching. I believe using someone like myself to sit down and help you with that is where you can really leverage that as well, because we're so subjective. We don't see the objective things in our lives. We don't have somebody asking us the questions, so we can really find those best things to set. So that's a good lesson there. Understand at the end of the day, that's what's necessary is action. It's those incremental actions that we take day by day by day by day by day that really affect sustained change. But the clarity is needed first. To get the result, which is the outcome goal, I need to have a clear picture of where I want to go. I need to know where I'm headed. You need to know, you need to define that. And when you get really clear in that goal and very specific with that goal, and you really can see it and you can visualize it, then it becomes really, really powerful. That's really, really strong heat on the pot that can cause the change. I want a heavy goal. I like big goals. I like goals that you're 50% likely to fail at. Now that sounds a little crazy, doesn't it? I thought you're supposed to set a realistic goal that you can hit. If you get in a real good relationship with your goals, you can use some really big, hairy, audacious goals, as Jim Collins called it, BHAGs. You can set some big, hairy, audacious goals out there that just call you out and inspire you. And I like to go out maybe 5 years with a BHAG, and you just put that big, hairy, audacious goal in 5 years. What if I could do that? All a goal is a North Star, folks. It just gives me clarity, keyword, on where I'm aiming, what I'm shooting for. And if I shoot higher, I'm going to land up in a higher place. If I shoot low and I make things too easy on myself, that's that old I want comfort kicking in. Get uncomfortable. Set a big goal. Set something that inspires you. Set a goal that takes your breath. Set a goal that really touches your heart. Set a goal that causes a tear to come to your eye. Set something that's going to really motivate you and make it clear and picture it and visualize it. And then come back to the reality of today when you get out of that dream state and create a project, which is a series of actions. In other words, translate that goal into the activity you need to take. When you take that action every day with that kind of clarity, you will get your result. Action is essential. Talk doesn't get it done. There's a time for planning to be over, and then it's showtime. It's time to do something. And folks, even if you do it and it doesn't work, you learn something. Inaction is where you don't learn anything. Action is where you learn. Action can be changed. Action can be adjusted. I set the goal and the target, and then I check every day to see if I'm in line with that target, if the actions I've chosen are taking me that direction. And don't be deceived if it doesn't happen right away, because you got the well pumping, you got the thermostat, you got the ice cubes, you're going 1 degree, 1 degree, 1 degree. But that's the formula right there. Clarity plus action equals results. Just write that one down and give that one some thought. For my clarity picture, I've got a little snow globe here. You know, you've got that snow globe with all that stuff swirling around. And how do you get clarity? Sometimes you just need to get quiet and just let everything settle. Just let everything settle till it gets clear. I want that goal to be really clear. So for that goal to be clear, I need some time. I need some time to sit down in a room with some quietness and a blank piece of paper, and I just need to let my mind settle. That takes some time, folks. We're Western people. Eastern people do this really well. Western people aren't always so good. We're busy, busy, busy all the time. Sometimes you just need to take a deep breath and center and just let everything get clear so that I can choose the right actions. Just activity by itself without clarity doesn't get us where we want to go. But that's that little clapper they use in the movies, action, time to take action. So you get your clarity and then you take action. That's how you get your results. This is what's going to pull it all together here for us today. And I love the picture of a tree. I just want you to go through the model with me. It kind of brings everything we've been talking about today together. So you see a tree, it's got its roots, it's got its leaves, and the purpose of like an apple tree is apples. That's the fruit. I guess we'd call that the goal, wouldn't we? The goal of an apple tree is apples. So what's the process here? Well, I like to use the be, do, have. The have is the apples, the do is the photosynthesis and the growth of the tree, and the be is what I would call is the roots, the seed and the roots, the identity. So the results we want to have is the fruit. So we're setting goals for ourselves. We want to get clear on what we want to produce. Covey says you go to your funeral and you think about everybody that's going to stand up and talk about you. What would you want them to say? What fruit do you want to come out of their mouth about your life? What difference do you want to make in life? What difference do you want your business to make, your relationships, your relationship with your creator, with your God? I mean, what results do you want? What fruit do you want? What do you want to have? That's the fruit in the tree. It starts with principles. It starts with the root. Root creates fruit. That's who you're being. If I want to have this fruit in my life, what kind of person do I have to be? One of the questions you're having today is, well, Dave, what goals do I choose to set? I've chosen a goal this year to be a better listener. Listening is a principle of respect. If I truly want to create a fruit in people's lives of value, I can't really help them unless I listen well. That's how I learn. That's how I connect. That's how I know who they are. So root, fruit, heart, action, inside, outside. The part below the ground that you don't see are the principles. Those results are going to be driven by the daily action or activity of the tree. That's the photosynthesis. Those are those daily process goals that we set every day that lead us to the action. Values are what we deem important. That grows out of our principles. And out of that, we create a mission, what we want to do in life. And there's where our goals fit in. So I want you to look at that foundation. Principles are those things in the world that just don't change. The law of sowing and reaping would be one. What you sow, you reap. You can fight against that principle all you want. If you plant corn, you're not going to get soybeans. In other words, what you plant, you get back. That's a principle. If you align your values with that principle, then you're going to have integrity. And then if you align your mission and you found your mission, what I'm up to in life on those values and those principles, I have a strong root system. But then I got to decide what I'm going to do. Notice that the brown is the B. What am I going to do? That's what the goals are. I've got the annual goals, the outcome goals, and then I have the quarterly rocks, which are the milestones every month, and then I have the weekly priorities that lead to my daily action. So that whole thing we've been talking about today called process is in that daily action. That's when the change is occurring. But that's all founded on clarity, which is the weekly, quarterly, and annual goals, rocks, and priorities, all founded on who we're being, which is our mission, our values, and our principles. That little picture right there we could do another series of messages and conversations like this on that. But I like the way that kind of brings so many things together just on one page. And there's so much there we could talk about. And I'd love to do that with you sometime. So that kind of brings it together today. If you want to enjoy goals, you need to understand them, and you need to understand change. And I hope that I've helped you with that. I like to look at it again with that little formula, which I use all the time. Be times do equals have. And here are the questions that come out of that formula. What do you want to have? What are your goals? What outcomes do you want? And who do you want to be? And who would you have to be to get that outcome? And most importantly, at the end of the day, what will you do? And at the end of the day, we can get clear on what we want to have and the kind of person we want to be, but all that comes about when we take action and we start to do something. So that's what I have for you today. And here's some things you can do today to follow up on this. I've got 3 great offers today. 2 of them will cost you nothing in terms of dollars. The first one is this. If you want a copy of these slides, just email me and I will send them to you. I'll send you a PDF with these slides, free on request. Second offer. 1 amazing goal setting tool and 4 related articles. I don't know if you've heard of Jim Rohn, but he did an amazing goal setting seminar. This is the how-to that people want, called Life by Design. I've summarized that seminar into 1 page. I'd be glad to send it to you free of charge. Choosing what you want, a simplified weekly plan, the power of process versus outcome goals, and 1 small consistent change are all 1-page articles that I've written about this whole thing. You can tell I have a passion about this. I will send you all those articles, PDF format, free of charge. All you have to do is email me and ask. And then the final offer is a paid one, $49. You can have 75 minutes with me. I'll help you clarify your goals if that's what you'd like to do, or any other subject or thing you'd like to talk about where you feel like a coach like me could help you. Just email me and tell me you're interested in that, and I'll confirm and validate that it's a good idea. My clients currently pay about $350 for that 75 minutes. I just want to offer that. I don't want a huge number to be a barrier to anybody. I want anybody that wants to have coaching, and I think most people could come up with $49 to have a great 75 minutes with me. I would love it, and that's what we have today. We've ended a little bit early. Nobody seems to complain too much when you end early. They all get aggravated when you're late. So that is that. And I'm going to sign off for the day and say goodbye.